Hello, apa khabar? And welcome to the virtually Peranakan Fest 2022, celebrating our colourful culture. This is our third edition of this online Peranakan festival organized by Peranakan Sayang. And we are very, very happy to see you all our Sayangs from around the world. Kamsia very much for joining us. Please say hello and tell us where you're watching this from in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you. My name is Alvin Un and it's a pleasure to host this session, and it's about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because it's about music, not just ordinary music, Peranakan music. That is something that I love, and I also have a very special co-host who loves music as well because he sings a lot also. So please welcome my co-host Cedric Tan. Ba?
Yo, music. Music to my ears, yeah. So yes, good evening everybody. Selamat datang. I've just finished my tea time and I hope you have too. I'm very, very happy because I get to introduce the youngest presenter in this virtual Peranakan festival. And she is none other than a fifth generation Nyonya, and who is very, very, very interested in everything about music, in particular Peranakan music. She has completed her master's in the University of Malaya, and she is now pursuing her PhD all the way in Austria in the University of Music and Performing Arts of Graz. And I've known her personally for many, many years, and she is actually a Nyonya in and out, okay? Kawin pun pakai baju Nyonya. So, okay, I'm not going to chit-chat and cakap panjang-panjang anymore. Let's bring her on. I'd like to introduce to you Nyonya Rachel Ong.
Yeah, hello Rachel.
Hi.
Wow, looking bright and cheery from Austria. Bukan Australia ya.
Bukan.
Austria jauh I
Jadi
see.
sejuk also.
Sekarang sejuk
Yalah, tengok pakai selimut macam ni.
What time is it over there right now?
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning, kan?
Yeah, 7 hours difference, yeah.
Fantastic.
So, what's the temperature like out there?
Let me see. It's 6 degrees now and cloudy. Yeah, so it's really
Okay, let's warm up this room, yeah? With
Yes.
music. Okay, we are looking forward to that. Yo, joget, ronge,
Yes.
and all those stuff.
Yeah, we got so
Okay.
much to share.
All right. So, shall I begin? Begin now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Also, I would like to thank Alvin for inviting me to be part of this wonderful festival. And it was also very nice to have Cedric here as well as a moderator here. So the title of my talk today is the Cosmopolitan Musical World of the Peranakan. Sorry, I'm missing the in in the slides. So before I begin, I would like to briefly introduce myself. Next slide. So I'm, of course, Cedric mentioned, I'm the fifth generation Nyonya from Melaka. I was born and bred in Melaka and grew up with grandparents who spoke Baba Malay. So I'm actually very honored that kau boleh cakap Baba. Even also at home with my family and relatives, until today, we still speak Baba Malay whenever I'm back in Malaysia. Right now, I'm in Austria. So I am an ethnomusicologist, currently doing my PhD, as Cedric mentioned. And maybe many of you may be wondering, what does an ethnomusicologist do, or what is ethnomusicology, right? So in general, just briefly, ethnomusicology is the study of performance. So performance meaning covering like an umbrella term for music, dance, and theatre in its social and cultural context. So basically a bit like an anthropology, but I study on the music part of the anthropology in that sense, just to make it easier for you. Okay, so let's get right to the music. Now, my talk today is actually based on my master's research work, which I've done a couple of years ago. And I explore the musical culture of Peranakan by tracing Peranakans' interconnected histories. And then I highlight how this is reflected and shapes our musical expressions. So I will not get into the discourse about terminologies of Peranakan. I mean, a lot of scholars have done so. What is Peranakan, Baba Nyonya, the word and all this, I will not discuss too much. So in this talk, I use the term Peranakan to refer to Peranakan Chinese or Peranakan Cina or Babas and Nyonyas from the former British Strait settlement, which is known today as we are today, Penang, Melaka, and Singapore. Okay, so a few years ago, while I was in the beginning stages of my master's research, I was asking around what is Peranakan music? Is there such a thing of Peranakan music? So I was often told by community members that no lah, there's no such thing as Peranakan music lah. Oh yeah, there's nothing to look at lah. You know, don't waste time and things like that. I get comments like this, and then I kept wondering like, keep seeing all these performances, you know, the choir groups, the songs that we sing, you know, when we congregate, we have sing along and things like that. And there's always this joget and social dancing. And, you know, as trained as a researcher, right? So I asked the question like, why do we sing these kind of songs? You know, what songs? What about this dancing? What kind of acting? What is represented as Peranakan music, you know, in publicly or, you know, in the tourist brochure or whatever? And what is associated, what kind of music is associated with Peranakan? So my research of Peranakan musical culture also led me then to the word called Cosmopolitan, which is in the title of my talk today. And to discuss what makes Peranakan musical culture cosmopolitan, I then will divide my talk today in two sections. The next slide. So the first section of my talk will be to explore Peranakan musical culture, and I've mentioned earlier, by tracing Peranakan's interconnected history. And secondly, how is it reflected today and shapes ours, I mean, their, depending who is the audience, musical expression today. All right, so let's go on to the first section. Now, it is established widely that the Peranakan culture flourished starting from the late 19th century to the early 20th century, right? So this period we all know and refer to as the Golden Age. And this Golden Age was actually the result of economic, social, and political developments in the cosmopolitan port cities of the British Strait settlements, which is, you know, Penang, Melaka, and Singapore. So a little background about port cities, right? And before that, the word cosmopolitan. So if you just do a simple Google search, cosmopolitan actually means, you know, including people from many different countries. So if you think about port cities back then in the British settlement, during the British settlement time in British Malaya, right? So a lot of networks, lively exchange of, you know, people and ideas, you know, political ideas, also circulation of merchandises and trade, and lots of exchange as well, print and audio technology, and, you know, lots of different people meeting in that one place. So this is why the port city, especially Singapore, becomes like this very cosmopolitan. You know, there's always a mix of culture, right? And so this results in this kind of regional network, you know, around, you know, around Southeast Asia, especially maritime Southeast Asia, which is Indonesia, the islands, right up to, you know, Phuket and all that. Phuket was also a very important port city back then. So yeah, this is kind of like a global process. In a way, already started a global process of consumerism as well as cosmopolitanism. So knowing that economic growth and everything is happening in the port city, this is like a lively place, right? So of course, a lot of people come and settle, live there, work there, and the rate of urbanization rose. So when rate of urbanization rose, we know that in every city, of course, the urban entertainment also developed. All right. So and then such as this kind of entertainment includes like commercial theaters, such as the Bangsawan we all know, which was very big in the region, especially in Singapore, lots of troops, and also in Penang, and lots of wayang groups as well, be it the Chinese theater, opera, or also starting with the Peranakan wayangs as well. And then there were dance halls and cabarets. I'm sure probably I don't know if your parents or your grandparents, or I don't know, you've known of this, dance halls and cabarets, and also music parks, amusement parks emerged during this time in the early 20th century. So through all this, what do we need to have all this kind of entertainment center, right? Of course, we need music. And this is where all the music comes in. All right. So just to give you an impression about how lively it was, port city is, I'm going to play you a little video excerpt just to give you an idea, an impression. The next video. Yeah.
1819, only a little over 100 years ago, Stamford Raffles, a far-sighted official of the famed East India Company, realized Britain's great need of an important base in the Indies for future expansion of Eastern trade, and against advice and wishes of his company, secured by agreement from the Sultan of Johore an island off the extreme southern tip of the Malay Peninsula, and here founded Singapore, a settlement destined to become, within less than a century, one of the greatest commercial ports and the most strategic point of the British Empire. Singapore, but 77 miles north of the equator, is at the crossroads of Australia and India, South Africa and China, and as military base and home of the combined British Far Eastern Fleet, is rightly considered the Gibraltar of the East.
All right, so you've heard the narrator and what they've mentioned about this kind of trade network and economy. So very important place right back then is a commercial center. And because of that, this also attracted a lot of, maybe the next slide, Elvin. Yeah, also attracted a lot of musicians from Sumatra Island, from Java, lots of exchange, even from the Philippines. There were lots of musicians who come together in Singapore and lots of groups that's happening during that time. Okay, and Professor Tan Sui Beng, I think some of you may know her. She did amazing research on the Peranakan culture as well as Bangsawan and also the 78 RPMs. And she calls this kind of identity as vernacular cosmopolitan identity, which means an identity was transnational or global and grounded on their interactions and networks with the diverse people of the Malay archipelago and the emergent, changing, multicultural socio-economic environment of the port city. So things will always keep changing, lots of lively exchange. So thanks. So we talk about how Singapore as a port city attracted a lot of musicians, lots of groups that's happening, playing, performing in the theme amusement parks, in cabarets, dance halls. This is happening all across, not just Singapore, of course, across the region, and lots of musical exchange also across this British Straits settlement, as well as in the Java Islands, as well as Sumatra, and also from the Philippines, right? I've mentioned earlier. And not just that, Singapore also became one of a very important center for recording gramophone music. During this time, gramophone, still the slide before, not yet. Yeah, just keep to this first. Yeah. So there was a recording studio set up by the Gramophone Co. in Cairnhill, Singapore, and that place became one of the place where a lot of music were recorded and then distributed back to India to make a vinyl and then bring it back for sale and resale, right? Okay, so now we move on to this photo. I wanted to show you Musical Life in Melaka, a cartoon by Yankee Leong, from Melaka Guardian, August 13, 1934. This is cited in Margaret Sarkisian, who's also a ethnomusicologist, who did very interesting work with the Portuguese Eurasian in Melaka. And you can see, it's depicted in this cartoon, like how vibrant the musical life, lots of things going on. People are singing, there's dondang Sayang, there's people playing instrument and dancing, and there is a loudspeaker, just to give you an idea how vibrant it was. And this, in the early 20th century, was also the first time that music could be heard, recorded. Recorded music is heard. Because before the invention of the gramophone or the phonograph, before that, you can only hear music live. Like you go to a concert, you listen to music live. But later on, 1920s and 30s onwards, when people start owning gramophones and then radio came into the market as well in the late 30s to the 40s, people could listen to their songs over and over again. That was really a craze, right? Okay, go on to the next slide. Now, talking about all these things in a really big form, what does it have to do with Peranakan? Of course, a lot, right? This also affects Peranakan's social life, right? And also shapes a lot. Also shape all these kind of exciting new developments also happening in Penang and in also Singapore and Melaka. So Sarkisian noted that the Peranakans were wealthy and modern, and they were at the forefront of every new craze. So when you have money, of course, you can afford a lot of new technology, right? So this is cited as well from the book Peter Lee and Jennifer Chen. So radios and gramophones also found their way into living rooms. In those days, the Peranakans were the first amongst the Chinese to own such modern equipment. As a result of their constant contact with the colonial rulers, many Peranakans acquired an appreciation of Western classical and popular music, in addition to their appreciation of keronchong and dondang sayang. So due to accessibility of the language, right? Like Baba Malay, of course, the Malay language. So of course, then they also like keronchong music and like dondang sayang. And then later on, many songbooks were published containing the popular tunes of the day. And this musical interest encompassed the acquisition of pianos. So I'm sure maybe some of you have known that your family has had a piano for a long time, or some sort of musical instruments. During my research work, I've spoken to many people who said that, yeah, they have piano at home, they have sing along. And, this is common in many Peranakan family, going back to the text. And families would gather around a piano and to the accompaniment of violas or violins, accordions, and perhaps banjos, mandolins, popular songs would be sung. During this time, there were also a lot of Peranakans, because being able to afford music lessons and instruments, a lot of Peranakans are also learned a lot of music, start playing in a band, start forming their own band. Okay? So from this text, we can tell how Peranakan negotiated this kind of vernacular cosmopolitan identity, which I've mentioned earlier, this kind of, very eclectic, adopting, different influences, different ideas, Western music, keronchong, dondang sayang, here and there. And also, it's reflected as well in our own material culture, right? We have a lot of influences from many places, right? So the music is not different from that, okay? And it shows how fluid it is, these things and these ideas flow, and how this creates sort of our identity in a way. Okay, we can move on to the next slides. So then here are some photos that I'd just like to show. Most of these photos are actually a bit biased to Melaka, because my research is based in Melaka. But please jangan marah ya if I don't mention any Penang or anything, or Singapore. So anyway, Peranakans were involved in dondang sayang groups, and you see the first photo, dondang sayang practiced in Tun Tan Cheng Lok's house, Melaka. This photo is by the late Uncle Robert Sid, who has been so generous with sharing a lot of information according to performances in Melaka as well. And he's the one playing the gong on my right. Yeah. Okay. And then we see that on the other side, we see that a group of singers and musicians at the Gunung Sayang Club. The Gunung Sayang also started very early in 1910s, 1910, 1911. Not very sure the exact date year. So yeah, you see, there are lots of groups that form. People come together to play music, and there was also the Dondang Sayang Club in Penang. Right? Now we move on. Besides dondang sayang, of course, Peranakans were involved in keronchong bands. We see here is a photo. I'm not sure if you can read the caption. It's a bit small up there. The Bintang Suare. They go along with a bullock cart into a carriage and then performing music. This is in Penang. And on the right side, there is a Cahaya Bulan radio minstrel, or in the photo, you can actually see that Cahaya Bulan radio, minstrel. Or back then, they used to call the name as well as orchestra minstrel. So orchestra is a short form of orchestra, but actually it's not really like you think of a Western concert hall kind of orchestra, but in a way, it's an ensemble that play a certain kind of music during that time. Right. So looking at the instruments there, I'm not sure if you could tell, but this would probably, the music would sound more or less like a keronchong, and also a mix of Hawaiian style music, because there is a Hawaiian guitar on the guy sitting in front here, holding the flat one, the Hawaiian guitar. And you see behind him, there are also musicians carrying sort of like a small ukulele. And this is actually the chak and chok, one of the main instruments in the keronchong ensemble, where you play the rhythm section, like So these two they will interlock each other. Of course, then the bass there, and there's a cello usually played. The double bass is the big one, yeah, on the left side, and then in the middle that's the cello, and there's also the maracas. A maracas is considered back then, sort of a Latin music instrument, right? So the music is kind of mixed. If you think about it, it's like a Latin, a bit Hawaiian. It's not so like a fixed form of a keronchong music. But then, what is a fixed form, right? Even in keronchong music, we know of its origin from Indonesia. Keronchong music itself has also developed and changed and adapted many other influences into it, right? So to give you just an impression of how Cahaya Bulan radio minstrels music sound like with these instruments, I'm going to play you just a short excerpt. I'm sure you all know this tune. Okay, so of course you know the tune of that song. Some of us identify it as the national anthem of of Malaysia, and of course, just a sidetrack a bit. Terang Bulan, the tune has been known by many names as well as Mamula Moon, and is played across from Hawaii to Seychelles to even Hong Kong. We can find a Chinese version. You can find many of these versions on YouTube. YouTube is amazing. You can find a lot of things there. All right, so we're gonna move on a little bit. So Peranakans not only play in keronchong, dondang, sayang, they also played in string bands. Big string band. Strings is like violin, viola with a double bass, and cello. They also like a minstrel group, like what you've seen earlier. Swing bands, which were later on the craze. Big bands like jazz kind of music was also a craze during the 30s to 40s and up to the 50s. And so they were involved in a lot of things. I mean, I don't really have time to show a lot. There are actually a lot of photos. If I want to show, there are a lot of photos. They're just an example with a slide before. Now we're going to move on. Peranakan is just not just involved in popular music. Apart from popular music, they're also involved in religious and cultural style of music. So the photo on my left here, it's actually from a Wangkang procession. I don't know if you heard of a Wangkang. So Wangkang is basically, maybe later on Cedric can explain more, is actually a religious ceremony where where a barge is built and
Oops, she suddenly froze. We're talking about Wangkang. We'll hope to get Rachel back. Maybe we take this time for Cedric to share a little bit about the Wangkang.
Oh, okay, great. While waiting for Rachel to come back, Wangkang is actually a Hokkien word, literally meaning royal barge. It is a ceremony that's being held in Melaka and perhaps other places in the diasporic Chinese communities throughout Southeast Asia, where the ceremony objective is to get rid of evil spirits, that causes a catastrophe, economic depression, and also diseases, pandemics. All right. Okay, back to you.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. It just went out my screen.
It's okay. I think it was you were getting too cold in Austria, so you froze.
Maybe
frozen.
yeah. I think Cedric has explained to you what the ceremony is all about, right? So, and then on the right side, of course, you see there's sort of like a saruni band. So there's saruni, which is in Chinese is actually called a sona, but the Peranakans call it saroni, and it's of course I think it's a derivation of the word saronai from Malay, and it's sort of like a double reed oboe instrument, and then play along with the gong, and this kind of ensemble, the saroni ensemble, is played in wedding, in funerals. Why is my screen? Okay, wedding, funerals, and also birthdays, right? But as of today, I'm not very sure who else plays the saroni except for someone we know in Melaka, Sia, who plays that, the sona. Anyway, Now, besides that, we move on to the next slide. So I'm thinking about Peranakan musical culture, right? So social dancing, of course, we all know this. Until today, we still do this. This is a photo taken in PPCM. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so this is a photo from PPCM quite some years ago. But of course, the culture of social
sorry, I don't know
dancing
what's
still
going on
continues. Yeah, it's
with
okay.
the connection.
No worries.
Do you hear me?
Yeah. Yes. So you're sharing about
Hello?
the social dancing?
Oh, yeah, it froze again.
Yeah, but we can hear you.
Okay, that's good. So sorry. Okay, so this photo is taken PPCM. I'm not sure exactly the date, but judging from the outfit, judging from the what they wear, could probably be like a New Year's Eve party from the hat, or it looks more like a New Year's Eve dinner and dance party. All right, but I can't say for sure. It's just what I think. Yeah. All right. So. Now, tracing back to the early 20th century, of course, the Peranakans were involved in this kind of social dancing, social life is very much also adopting like British colonial leisure activities, and this shows a lot. There are also photos about fancy dress party, dinner and dance, which we practice until today. Okay, so we go on to the next slide. Now, out of this musical culture, we also have Peranakan also have a very, very interesting practice, which is actually philanthropy. We can see that. I'm not sure if you can see the text there. It says the entertainment at Melaka, concert for Shangtong Relief Fund during this time, and there were groups of like the Melaka Straits-born Chinese Dramatic Party and the Nightingale Minstrel also perform for this to raise money. A lot of Peranakans, what they do is they perform music to raise money for charity, for philanthropic work. And also in this program book in the middle from 1950s, also the Melaka Dramatic Association, they perform in Penang for the St. Nicholas Home for the Blind. And this whole play was directed and conducted by Mr. Tan Eng An, who was actually a blind musician. And he wrote a couple of pieces, and one of the pieces is actually Sapu Tangan Yang Putih. Okay, so we will go on to the next slide. Now, going on to the next part of my talk, which the first part I talk about the musical history and the interconnectedness and all that, right? So now we go on to the next slide, which is continuity of Peranakan culture. Is there a continuity? What do you think? I mean, yes, of course, as we know, culture is always evolving, always changing. And of course, this is in response to socio-economic changes, political changes, or the landscape changes, things like that, technology advancement. I mean, right now, we could do this online. We could sing music, we could do music online like this, and we could share our thoughts here online, So the medium has changed, of course, but the aesthetic of making music, of this idea of participatory music, of coming together, of jolly what we say, or we joget, and we have lots of social dancing, is still very much part of the musical culture. And of course, through all of these, we need music, right? We need bands, you need all these things that goes on. So then we go on to the next slide, and just some photos here. This is also seen in the collection of songs. Like, for example, in these two song books, of course, this book is all on my left side, and then the right side is actually by the Peranakan Association. It's a collection of song repertoire, and some of these songs date back to the early 1920s. And for example, the folk song "Trek Tek Tek" is still sung until today, and we all know this song after like 100 years plus now. So very much part of is very much part of the Peranakan repertoire, right? And this is being transferred from one generation to the next. And of course, the folk song is also very much shared across the maritime Southeast Asia region, speaking the same language, which is the Malay language. Okay, and then next one. Besides old songs, besides songs that we sing, popular songs also that is sung. I mean, I'm sure if you join the choir groups, if you've seen Peranakan perform, there are also new things that happen. So, for example, this is an example from PPCM, actually, of the rendition of the Chinese New Year song called Chu Xi Nian. So this song is actually put together by Daniel Ong, one of the member of the community in PPCM. So So I'm not sure if you can hear the song lyrics. So I'm sure everybody, those who are in Malaysia or Singapore or you are Peranakan, or you would know the song, right? This is a popular Chinese New Year song called 祝新年. But then the creativity of the Peranakan people in PPCM put together this song called 祝新年, which is actually, to localize it, to Peranakantize it, as I would say. Right, and they put in also Baba lyrics, Baba Malay lyrics in that. So we see again here how this act of tune borrowing, you borrow the tune, but you put in new song text in the music, also reflects this kind of continuity of Peranakan negotiating with different identities. So we adhere to our Chinese culture, but through these song lyrics in Baba Malay, we show that we are, not Chinese. We are not Chinese per se, right? We have our own way of celebrating Chinese New Year. We say that Rio Ronda, main tambor, ko gendang, masuk rumah caiki merah, or ucapkan selamat tuan rumah. We say things differently than how we would think of majority like Chinese would have done it. But also the Chinese culture, to think of it as a homogeneous thing is also not appropriate, not right to say it that way, because it's also very heterogeneous, right? Anyway, we will go on. So, and lastly, as I talked about earlier, how this network, this transnational network of people, coming together and exchanging of ideas, we still have this today, and how we have this through our conventions, our annual conventions, right? So it started just, in Penang, Melaka, and Singapore in the late 1980s. It has now expanded and included other Peranakan communities in the region. So through conventions, we also see the difference as well as the shared songs and the different ways of making music today. And of course, I would say this would continue to evolve as we go along. And so there you have it. The Peranakan musical world is indeed cosmopolitan. And with that, I end my talk. Kamsia, everybody.
Thank you very much, Nya. That was very nice, and I think it's very informative, especially for those who may not totally understand much about the culture, right? So, and of course, music is another important factor in our community, because everybody loves music. All Babas and Nyonyas loves music. You play music only, they are partying. They're either on the microphone singing, playing instrument, or they're dancing.
Yeah.
This
it's
is standard.
A cultural marker. I would say it's a Peranakan cultural marker, one of our cultural marker. Yeah.
I just wanted to share. I'm also a host, and one of events that I hosted was a wedding. And very interestingly, the groom side is a Chinese family, and the bride side is a Baba family. And I stood on stage. I could see the Chinese side of the groom side. They're all very mild-mannered, all sitting down, having conversation and all that, which is fine. But when I look at the Baba side or the Nyonya side of the family, I mean, they were partying already, They were up on their feet and jogging and all that, the music, whatever music, partying already, having a good time. So that reflects on the culture, very, very interestingly. Yeah, for those of you who's looking at our videos right now and you see Rachel frozen up because she's actually very far away in Austria, but we can hear her. We can still hear her, which is fantastic. Just to update, we had Baba Fred piping in. Gunung Sayang Association was founded in 1910.
10, yes. Wasn't sure it was in 1911, 1910.
So you can confirm that in your next presentation. Baba said. Cedric?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, she's frozen in Austria, so that's why you get the frozen look.
Okay, yes. That's very weird. Anyway. I can hear. You can hear me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but you are frozen right
that's
now.
Very weird. I wonder why.
But never mind. Along your journey, learning about Peranakan and their musicology or their being very musical. What are the groups that you've probably heard, and do you think that the young generation right now can sort of emulate what they have done, or do you think they should just move on and create their own kind of music that suits them better?
So very, very interesting and very important question to ask, actually. I mean, am I still frozen?
Yes, yeah, but it's okay. We got a good shot of you.
It's okay, I can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you live.
Okay, cool. Then I'll just continue. I'll answer your question. So if you look back, right, if you look back in the early 20th century, I mean, the musical culture has always evolved. It's always adapted according to the times. You know, it was always considered modern and at the forefront of things. So if you look at it even throughout, right, of course, you know, we can retain certain kind of practices such as dondang sayang, you know, although that kind of spontaneity of doing dondang sayang is a bit lost here today, very limited today, but, you know, people still try to practice, try to emulate it. In terms of, like, you know, music and performing arts in that sense, I think it's not that you would forget, young people would just move on, but I think you just continue creating. I think that's the process. That's the important process, is to continue creating, actually. I mean, Cedric, you have done so many interesting things, you know, with the songs as well, with the dance. You've choreographed dance as well. And Alvin, you as well, you know, with your own group of Peranakan Sayang. I mean, you know, we see this presently, you know, we continue creating, right? And a lot of new things keep coming up, you know. Even Alvin, when you create your music, you put in different elements. For example, like here, the dondang sayang rhythms, the melody, that opening melody, da 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 da, you know, that kind of melody to sort of signify or symbolize that Peranakan.
It's our identity.
You know? Exactly, you know, that symbol per se, yeah. So I hope that answers your questions.
But having said that, I mean, I love music, and I'm not a very well qualified musician, but I love music. I create a lot of music, and it's all out of passion for our culture and heritage. But the music that Peranakans sing or perform to, a majority, it is not Peranakan per se, but songs that we love, songs that we enjoy, songs that we listen to. I mean, taking the dondang sayang, for example, it's obviously not a Peranakan root music. It's actually Malay, right? Or from Melaka, if I'm not wrong. Cedric, am I correct to say that? Yes. So it is songs that our forefathers heard and say, hey, this is nice. So I also sing. So they join in and have a good time. But the root of the music is not Peranakan, but it's songs that we love. And similarly for keronchong, you know, we hear the Indonesian keronchong. Oh, this is very nice. Let's set up a keronchong band, and then we start singing keronchong as well. So there lies our roots of songs that Peranakans love or enjoy. But even having said that, we are in the midst of developing Peranakan music, actual Peranakan music, which is songs written in our Baba Nyonya language,
exactly,
to tunes that has that feel of being Peranakan. So there has been development in our Peranakan music that we can call Peranakan songs.
Like, for example, the example that I showed through Sinin, and I'm sure in Singapore as well, you've seen a lot of this, you know, how we take in, you know, tune borrowing, but we have like Baba Malay lyrics, of course, and also there are new songs that comes up, which I think this is rightly we can call it Peranakan music. I call it
Correct.
Peranakan music in my research
Correct.
actually.
And having said that, I just want to pitch that we are releasing a Peranakan song tomorrow at 5 o'clock in
awesome.
our Mari Hwahi session. I'm going to release our debut of this song called Sarung Kebaya. So that's something to look forward to. So I hope you all can join in.
Cool. Oh, that's wonderful. Is there any question from the audience?
Yeah, there's some comments.
Okay, sure.
Like Ellie, I don't believe her surname is Universe, but Ellie, her dad is a 4th generation Hakka Baba and had vinyl records as a young man in the 50s, and they had dance parties with these records as the background music. You can imagine the atmosphere, with the background music playing on the record player. I mean, that's so classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably you should upload your songs, Baba Alvin. You should upload your songs to Spotify.
Yes.
I thought you were going to say better. I thought you said going to go print it on a vinyl record.
No.
Wow, that would be
actually right.
Online,
if we don't have questions from the audience, I have questions for both Cedric and Alvin actually.
Oh, okay.
This is more fun, right?
Kena balik.
No lah, I mean like the two of you, both of you, most of your life you've been, involved in producing like Peranakan music and everything, So what drives that passion? And how do you get all your influence, your inspiration to do all the songs or dance for Cedric as well? Yeah, so open question.
Go ahead, Cedric.
Okay, I probably grew up in Melaka, so therefore I think we are a bit more traditional. So my kind of music will be, I would say, pretty conservative. Not so, even if we were to sort of like update it, it will probably be just that disco touch and go sort of thing rather than I think something which is more techno sounding. I guess because that's how probably the Melakans would prefer it to sound like, I don't know, maybe I have noticed Alvin's song, he has definitely taken everything a step beyond. I wouldn't probably try those because maybe I'm not comfortable with those kind of arrangement, but I'm not saying that it is not workable. It can be workable depending on the scenario, the environment that you're in. And I admire, for example, Elvis' sort of passion because in order for you to create new songs, you must have lots and lots of inspiration. And probably in Singapore, you can get that. I think back in Melaka, we are all more laid back, we are all more relaxed. And therefore, we are more in tune with the typical sound. And we are trying to promote Melaka as a cultural center. Therefore, we cannot sort of like experiment something new because or else we will probably be out of touch of the traditional approach. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean that's a valid opinion, which I do respect. My basic position is all about looking in the past and looking towards the future. Like our forefathers would have listened to, for example, keronchong, and they started playing keronchong. For them, at that point in time, that was forward-looking. And even for, we had a lot of bands forming in the past as well, like the Merry Lads and all that. And that point in time for them, that group of Babas were in the forefront of music for that time. So this is looking back at what they used to do. And I'm also looking forward because if we keep doing music of the past, that's good as a base. However, we also have to look music to the future because if we do not embrace the youth of today, their attention and their interest in the culture, it is hard to sustain the culture. So I always try to do things that are just a little bit of this and a little bit of that, touch of the past, but at the same time, the arrangements are all modern. Like when I do the rap, hip hop, like Homia Lalu and all that. I mean, that's rap, but the content of the lyrics are all pantun. So by that, we connect with a new audience that's connected to rap, but at the same time, we educate them on pantun. So to me, that is a a mix of the old and the new, and try to find new ways to connect with a new audience, so that, because there's evolution, as we all know, our culture is a culture of evolution from the times of the 15th century to the 18th century to today. There's a lot of evolution going on. It's just that people are never comfortable with change. Change is always uncomfortable. That is the nature of change. But over time, let's say maybe in 2050, for example, some person like Rachel will say, back in 2022, there used to be this guy who sang this. That's the world that we live in, and for me, it's all about passion. And you're talking about inspiration. Sometimes my inspiration is sitting on the throne. I was thinking, oh, got this idea.
You come at the worst time.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, or driving the car. I say, hey, Mark, got tune now, how to record this song? Quickly turn on the recorder, sing la 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 la. Okay. And then
for me, it's also in the toilet always.
That's right,
And it comes at the right time. Plong.
Then after that, you got the tune coming out. So that's my take on music and how I see the direction of Peranakan music going on. It's just being like our forefathers, of being in today and celebrating it as best as we can.
Yeah.
I think we have the best of both worlds. Yeah, Melaka probably we are more traditional. So therefore, you need to if you want to step back in time, you come back to Melaka. But if you want something which is more updated, something which I think relevant to the youth today, and then probably you'll probably look to Singapore. So I would say also probably in 30 years time, maybe in Melaka we are constantly being reinforced with the idea that we live with joget, dondang, sayang, and therefore down. But there come to a time people who have already migrated to Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, they will probably say, hey, the music's doesn't seem to jive with the kind of music that we are listening right now, and probably they want something different. So of course, then they'll be looking down south for that matter. So I think we should be able to allow that space where people would have a choice where they want to go back. There you have the Melaka version, and then you have the Singapore version with something more, and that's what makes us, I think, very, very unique, because we are very diverse. We are very adaptable. We like to adopt. And we like to move on too at the same time too, So we're very flexible already.
So that's what Peranakan is, right? Sorry.
Yeah, some comments coming through. This one paise lah, talking about me from Evelyn Go. Thank you for your songs. Shout out, created, fantastic. Please continue your good work. Good vibes. Yep, always good vibes. Always about joy and celebration, as always. And we have Father Chris, who will be online tomorrow at 1 p.m. My paternal grandfather used to run their own recreation clubs where dances of ronggeng and cabaret were held in Penang. Wow, that's
okay. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you.
Okay, you got to. So lots of parties at his home, and continuing. Penang Peranakans of the past used to take part of the Jawi Peranakans Boria and Siamese Wayang, also known as Menorah.
Yep. So you see that connection, right? Especially in the border between Thailand, there's always this kind of exchange that happen, that adapting and exchange that happen. Yeah, the internalizing of a different culture, there's always that.
More comments. Babas, Cedric, and Alvin, thank you for organizing and hosting for Continuing the Culture. Oh, you're most welcome. This is our pleasure.
Thank you.
And Matthew, Rachel, have some younger Peranakans told you before that our lagu and joget is old-fashioned? What do you think?
Yes and no. I mean, of course, depends what you think of old-fashioned is how you associate this. It's always about association and how you relate to things, right? Of course, there are songs that are from the past that we still perform today, but I would like to think of it as something that provides this kind of collective identity for us. This idea of this is this is part of us. This kind of songs, this kind of repertoire is part of our culture in a sense. I mean, this is what I think.
Yeah, we still retain whatever that we like, of the past, but then of course we also experiment with something new.
Definitely,
I think
yes.
That's been us very, very
That,
much.
yeah, that's unique to our culture, where we
Yes.
are always, as we talked about, evolution, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we move on? I mean, before, when we came to this part of the world, I don't think there was much European influence, for example. But as the years gone by with colonialism and all that, there's Western influences, and that affected our
definitely.
culture. And even for religion, I mean, eventually there were a lot more Roman Catholics in our Baba Nyonya communities, but before that, of course, there wasn't. It was basically Taoism or Buddhism.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's all part of our culture and our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
There's another
Oh
contribution.
yeah. I'm aware that it's Bunga Raya band.
Penang now has a new band making up of a young couple called Bunga Raya Bang.
It's band, I think.
Band,
Band,
not.
yeah.
They sing some of the old songs in new style. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that information. So, okay, I think it has been a wonderful session. We could overrun this because there's no session after this. So I'm glad to. Yeah. Cedric, do you have any words on what you feel about the music of Peranakans?
I just felt that, let's not be shy about what we love, what we like. Yeah. I mean, continue to enjoy doing it, listening to it, but also do allow the younger people, somebody else to try something new. Yeah. I think, like if you eat rice every day, you also jelat lah, So you want sometimes a noodle or miswa or spaghetti, it creates sort of a variety in your life. And I think that's what we all want, variety.
I
just can't
agree.
survive on rice.
That's right.
Boring.
The thing about our culture is you cannot put your finger down to just one spot.
No. Yeah.
It is many spots around it. So that's the variety that we have. Any last words, Rachel? Yeah? Sorry?
Sorry. It's just about, knowing the whole idea in general, but never sort of like, never insist that you are always right. Yeah. The Peranakan culture is that we all understand how things work, the general idea. Of course, there'll be slight variation here and there, but we just got to learn to understand the rationale why people does it like that. And then I think that's how we probably can move on. Yeah. And we don't need to say you are wrong, you are right, that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's
everybody
right.
is wrong, everybody is right, depending.
Just like the buah keluak dish. Everybody's buah keluak dish, there's a variation. It's not exactly the same. But you cannot go to somebody's family and say, your family cooks salah lah. I mean, that is their family's recipe, which is correct to them, which we respect.
That's definitely, yeah. Definitely.
So last words from the young lady who's done so much research on music, which I think we're all very proud of you doing what you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you also for sharing with me all the information so that I can put this together.
Yes,
and
there's more
document
info.
it in a way. For me, it's to not following up on what Cedric said, to not think about Peranakan culture as something that is fixed, in a box, museumized in that sense, stuck in the 1920s or 30s. But even so, back then it was constantly evolving, right? So Peranakan culture is always evolving in many ways, and especially here when I talk about music, yes, we see this also in music, and we see it right now with many examples from these two gentlemen here. Yep. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, really. Vintage.
Just like what Evelyn said, she's very happy to see a fresh young face to continue the Peranakan music culture. It was very interesting and informative, and I thought that wraps up the whole session and how we all feel about this particular session. So just a shout out, if you want to hear some Peranakan songs music that we all enjoy, original songs, do join us tomorrow at the same time at 5 o'clock for Mari Huahi. I think that's going to be
Yes.
super fun with our fantastic cast, and Cedric is going to be there as well, and some of our other friends who's going to join us. So thank you so much, Rachel, who's frozen. I'm tempted to sing Let It Go,
Okay.
but it's okay. But yeah, so thank you so much, Rachel, for really putting in this effort all the way from Austria to present this. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you so much for letting me be part of this wonderful festival. Thank you.
And of course, Babas, always thank you so much for co-hosting this. Your inputs are
My
always
pleasure.
valuable.
Always.
Okay, kamsia everybody. Well, everyone,
kamsahamnida.
that is the end of this session. We certainly hope you enjoyed the presentation. Please join us for a whole afternoons of programs tomorrow. Please check the listing of what's going on. It's starting from 1 p.m. all the way till the last session that is starting at 5 p.m. So once again, this has been Virtually Peranakan Fest 2022, celebrating our colorful culture, organized by Peranakan Sayang. My name is Alvin Un. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great time, everybody. Have a good evening.